Hey guys, John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo here at the review for you of the Sony Ericsson Xperia X1. I know this is an older phone, I mentioned this in the unboxing, but it was one of the few devices that I hadn't had a chance to check out. And I was really curious about the form factor and the operating system. So while this is not the most modern of devices, it's still a pretty interesting one. So I thought that I would give you my impressions on it. So the X1 is running Windows Mobile 6.1, but it's got a sort of a unique take on Windows Mobile, and I'll show you that in a minute. Spec-wise, it's got a very sort of strange screen. It's 3 inches diagonal. It can show over 65,000 colors, which is quite nice. It's got a 480 by 800 resolution, which is a little bit weird, but not bad. And again, it's a resistive touchscreen. So one of the cool things about the X1, and I'll go ahead and jump right in here and show you what it is. Your Windows Mobile 6.1 home screen is nothing fancy. But what sort of is the flagship of the Xperia line, and what's going to be the flagship of the X2, which is replacing this running Windows 6.5, is this panel interface. Let me show you what that looks like. There's a panel button in the bottom right-hand corner, which pulls up a row of sort of new skinned home screens. Think of it like TouchFlow 3D, but you can change the different TouchFlow 3D skins. And there are different panels that you can download. Here are some of the most popular. I'll show you what they look like. So to access a panel, all you do is just give it a click. So we'll go ahead and pick one. We'll pick Fish. It pulls up, it does a little refresh, and you are good to go. Now from the surface, this fish thing just looks kind of gimmicky and not so useful, but there's a lot more below the hood. The fish will change color if you have messages or missed calls. More fish will show up depending on whether or not you have messages waiting. It sort of takes a little bit of a look to get used to it, but it is surprisingly useful. You can move the fish around. They're just a fun thing to have. A few other panels here, and you see how quickly the panel interface does respond, and I'll show you this works in landscape as well. You can use some that are a little more useful. You certainly have like different panels for business or for pleasure, and there are a lot more things that you can use. So here's a little more useful panel with an array of icons on the bottom, a big analog clock, and you can definitely update the panel or whatever you'd like. And there are several choices here. You can go ahead and choose from. They range in different utilities. Some are more calendar-based, some are more media-based, and there are a few more that you can download. It does work in landscape. Go ahead and pop it open. It does have a relatively quick refresh rate as well. Go ahead and hit the panel button. And now you get the same thing sort of in a portrait mode. You can view it a little differently if you want to sort of fan across them. Some neat animations you get. Sort of the utility of that is questionable, but it definitely looks pretty. So the Xperia X1 is running Windows 6.1 or Windows Mobile 6.1, which is already an antiquated operating system. In fact, it was antiquated almost when it was released, but now it's been supplanted by Windows Phone, more commonly known as Windows Mobile 6.5. Certainly it'd be very hard to recommend an older device running an antiquated operating system like the Xperia X1, especially at the almost $700 price point that most retail outlets are asking for. It becomes a very expensive phone. It was expensive when it was first released, and is surprisingly not seen that big a price drop, I believe, in the well over a year since it first came out. So assuming that this is a phone that's probably not going to be in your budget, what is nice and unique about it? And Sony Ericsson in particular are really known for a great build quality. And the Sony Ericsson Xperia X1 really has probably some of the best build quality I've seen on a mobile device. It uses really strong metals. The spring and sliding mechanism is very solid. I believe this phone was actually built by HTC. It's got sort of an arcing slider, which you can see right there, makes typing really nice and easy. The keyboards are a little bit flush, or is a little bit flush, but they're really easy to type on. It's really easy to navigate with your fingers. I'd say it's probably one of the better keyboards that I've actually used. You feel definitely like you're using a quality device. The camera on the back is not the highest resolution, but it's certainly usable. 3.2 megapixels, and it takes very nice pictures, surprisingly nice pictures actually, and the LED flash adds a nice touch, although I wouldn't use this as your primary camera. As far as camera phones go, it really is one of the nicer sensors I've seen. Solid metal back and solid metal feel. Call quality was very good. The radio seems to be pretty strong. Certainly you get this standard Windows Mobile 6.1 crashes, and I certainly had a few of them. But hardware-wise, it's a really nice device, and it makes me very optimistic for the X2 coming out that's replacing it. Improved processor speed, improved RAM, and really sort of a similar design. So I think that there's a lot to be said for the X1. I think that it paved the way for some of the future generation devices we're going to see from Sony Ericsson, like the X2 and the upcoming Android X10, which I believe is codenamed Rachel. So this really is let's say a forefront and a forebear some of the new phones we're going to start seeing from Sony Ericsson. And they did a really nice job with this, but its high price point, antiquated operating system makes it very hard to recommend. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Sony Ericsson Xperia X1. I'm John Rettinger, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.